The Miami Valley definitely feeling the heat today.
Yeah, no kidding. We got a live look here from our Eco Plumber Sky Cam. Looks beautiful outside, but it's a little deceiving because it is brutal when you walk outside.
It certainly is. Of course, we're under that heat advisory today and tomorrow as our area sees those sky-high temperatures, the humidity, even making it feel like 100 degrees out there.
So let's go live now to Natalie, who's out in that heat. We threw her out there on the Watson's Weather patio. What's it feel like?
Well, feeling hot out here on our Watson's Weather patio, that's for sure. Hot, humid conditions, definitely an impactful day across the Miami Valley, and the same trend goes into tomorrow as we do have that heat advisory. That continues through 8 p.m. tomorrow. So heat indices across the area have been hovering in the mid-upper 90s, close to the century mark, but I do think they'll be even higher tomorrow. But as of right now, here's a look at our temperatures. 92 in Dayton, we got 95 Springboro, 90 in Greenville right now. Sunshine around, factoring in the humidity. It really doesn't feel too much hotter than our air temperature, but overall feeling like the mid-90s across the board. Now heading through time, what we're going to see is another hot and humid day. We are tracking storms in our forecast tomorrow. Can't rule out a strong to severe storm, so I'm going to talk about that potential, followed by some fall-like weather returning by next week. So I'll time it all out for you coming up here in just a bit.
With all the heat, of course, it's important to talk about water safety as well, as some may look to dip into some of the bodies of water to cool down. Eli Burgett explains, though, why this isn't always the best idea. Eli.
Well, while it may sound like harmless fun, swimming in our local rivers and lakes are prohibited, and it could put your life in danger. So authorities are urging people to find alternative ways to keep cool.
In this weather, you don't realize how much this hot weather takes out of you. You might get dehydrated, and normally you could swim a long way, but you know, you're a little more tired, a little more dehydrated, and that swimming takes a lot out of you. And
to beat the heat, local authorities are encouraging the public to use cooling centers and spray parks over swimming in lakes and rivers, as the waters are too strong and they may put your life at risk. While there are signs around these big bodies of water stating that it is off limits, some people decide to swim anyways, which has proven to be a deadly decision on multiple occasions. Coming up at 6:30 on Fox 45, the locations of safe places for you to cool off and how a man lost his life while trying to swim in dangerous waters. Back to you.
All right, Eli, thank you. Speaking of staying safe in the heat, a local doctor giving some advice to prevent any negative health effects.
I remember being 18 and thinking I was invulnerable, right? Immortal. And it's important that we don't take that risk. Hydration is key, the right clothes, and I can't express enough the importance of that evaporative cooling. Pouring that water over your head. Your hair should be wet out there just like you stepped out of the shower.
Now, Dr. Tucker adds that your hydration should include water and electrolytes, of course, especially if you're an athlete or spending time outside. Now, Dayton Public Schools announcing on social media that it will also be taking precautions to keep athletes safe. Now, if it's safe to practice outdoors, football players will practice in helmets, but no other gear. All practices will offer additional water breaks. Tonight's soccer game between Belmont and Stivers being pushed back to 7 p.m. where it's a little cooler.
And other local schools are also making changes. In fact, Troy City Schools releasing students 2 hours early again tomorrow. Valley View School District doing the same thing. An early release could happen for the rest of the week there as well, depending on the weather. Rumpke Waste and Recycling is pushing up pickup times to help keep workers out of the heat. Through Thursday, crews will be picking up trash in residential neighborhoods in the early morning hours, so they suggest putting your garbage and recycling out the night before.
And if you need a place to cool down this week, the city of Dayton using all 3 of its recreation centers as cooling centers from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. This is through Friday. You can head out to any of these that you see on your screen there. The addresses, again, they are right there on your screen. Now, additionally, you can head out to the city's splash pads, free and open every day from noon to 8 p.m. And we've got all this information and those addresses for you in the web version of this story at Dayton247now.com. Just click on the heat advisory story.
New tonight, the Dayton Police Department now offering a reward for any information leading to the suspects in Friday's tragic death of this 12-year-old little girl. Lydia Bice spoke with Dayton Police. So, Lydia, what exactly did you learn today?
Well, we received several updates today in the tragic case of a 12-year-old girl shot and killed while she slept in her bed on Friday morning. The first is that Miami Valley Crime Stoppers is offering a $10,000 reward for info leading to the suspects. The second is that Isabella's home wasn't even the target for this horrible act of violence.
We do not believe that people who live at 33 West Fairview Avenue are the targets of this shooting, but their house was hit regardless. So we do believe people in the community know who did it, and we ask them for them to come forward.
Now, Lydia, I understand that you also learned something new about the shooters as well.
That's right. Dayton police believe that there were at least 2 shooters involved in this crime, and they're urging anyone with information on this case to contact Miami Valley Crime Stoppers by calling 937-222-STOP or by heading to MiamiValleyCrimeStoppers.com, where you can remain anonymous. Back to you.
Okay, ma'am, is he breathing at all?
No, he's cold and there's blood on the back of his head.
Is there any suspected foul play? Does it look like anything?
I can't tell if it's a gunshot. There's a hole in the back of his head.
Now, that was a very sad 911 call from that suspicious death in Beaver Creek last week. And tonight we've learned a woman has now been arrested and charged in this case. Now, yesterday we told you police identified the victim as 55-year-old Michael Corrigan, who died from an apparent gunshot wound around 9 o'clock Thursday on Maple Lane. Now, today we've learned this woman, 52-year-old Janelle Nelson, is in custody after being arrested in Omaha, Nebraska early this morning. Beaver Creek police say she's now facing 4 charges, including felonious assault and voluntary manslaughter. Nelson will be extradited back to Ohio, where she will be arraigned in the Greene County Court. Police say a social media post and an automated license plate readers actually helped place her at the scene. So if you know else, you are asked to contact Detective Bondi. That number was just there on your screen a moment ago.
The man killed in a crash last night in Xenia has now been identified. It happened on West Main between Progress Drive and Allison Avenue. Xenia police, they say 30-year-old Anthony Williams was driving west on Main when he crossed in the median and struck another car. Now, the driver in the other car suffered non-life-threatening injuries, taken to the hospital. Xenia police, they're still investigating, and they ask that you contact them if you got any information. Those numbers, they're on your screen right now.
The case of one of the 3 people charged in the found legs case in Trotwood has been postponed to September 10th. In fact, 23-year-old Tygan Kiter was in court today. He's pleaded not guilty to tampering with evidence after admitting to sending messages and making calls from his grandfather Edgar Kiter Sr.'s phone to make it seem like he was still alive. You'll remember the legs of Kiter Sr. were found in a Trotwood driveway. The rest of his remains were found in a storage unit. Tygan is the son of Edgar Kiter Jr., who is also charged in the case.
The woman found guilty of kidnapping 5-month-old twins out of Columbus back in 2022 learned her punishment today. Nala Jackson stole a car with twins in it, prompting a statewide Amber Alert. One of those twins was found here at the Dayton International Airport. The other found a day later in Indianapolis. Rodney Dunnigan shares her sentence.
Nala Jackson's prison sentence finally brings closure to this case, a story that made waves across the country and rocked a local family to its core as the search went on for those missing twins back in 2022.
Nala Jackson sentenced to 23 years in federal prison Tuesday. Once released, she'll be under 5 years supervised release. And under federal law, she must also register as a sex offender for the federal charges of kidnapping minors. That designation is standard. Jackson is not accused of assaulting the twins in any way.
Jackson was being held at the Correctional Center of Northwest Ohio in Stryker. Following Tuesday's sentence, she'll be transferred to a federal facility to begin serving her prison time. Outside the federal courthouse, Rodney Dunnigan reporting.
A reworked indictment just filed against former President Donald Trump involving the election interference. Now, Adam is at the Now desk. So what exactly does this involve?
So it involves special counsel Jack Smith filed a superseding indictment, basically slims down the allegations against Trump in light of the Supreme Court's immunity ruling. So prosecutors haven't dropped any of the 4 main charges they originally brought against him, but it does carve out some of the allegations, like using the Justice Department to promote false claims of election fraud. The special counsel also says it has previously not heard evidence in the case while respecting the Supreme Court's ruling. Trump has pleaded not guilty to all the charges.
Fairborn City School District announcing the retirement of its superintendent. Before serving as superintendent, Gene Lawley was a principal in the district and the business manager. He's served Fairborn City Schools for 13 years and will officially retire in December. Lawley says, quote, "The richest blessing I have experienced in my career has been working in the Fairborn City School District. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to the students, families, staff, administrative team, and the Board of Education, past and present." The Board of Education is expected to name Assistant Superintendent Amy Gayhart as the superintendent with a formal vote at next week's meeting. A new study shows an alarming number of kids are now vaping, how Ohio is trending double the national average, and what a doctor is now saying about the dangers.
At the Ohio State Buckeyes, they're getting ready for the football season, what Ryan Day said in today's news conference.
Plus, I'm tracking a heat wave continuing across the Miami Valley, and windstorms arrive too. That's coming up. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
The Sports Desk is sponsored.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Here's something you don't see very often. It's a roll cloud or an Arcus cloud, and it appeared in Nebraska this morning. They're formed by cool winds from thunderstorms interacting with a warm and humid air mass. Thunderstorms pounded the area last night with strong winds and some pretty big hail. And after a storm hit Minneapolis last night, a rainbow arched across an eerie red sky.
Listen to Off the Radar. Find it wherever you get your podcasts.
New data shows 20% of Ohio and Kentucky high schoolers vape. That's double the national average. Chelsea Six spoke to a doctor with the American Lung Association about the dangers.
Doctors with the American Lung Association are urging parents to talk to their kids about the dangers of vaping. They've released new PSAs you see here to address the topic. The ALA says parents can be a powerful influence when their kids are between 10 and 14 years old and still willing to listen. First, parents should understand the risks of vaping. They say kids who vape are 4 times more likely to try a traditional cigarette and 3 times more likely to become addicted to nicotine.
When you look at the health consequences, not only do you have inflammation of the lung, but you can have systemic inflammation as well, because your lung's a big organ. It's going to release molecules that cause inflammation. And then you've got carcinogenic material, and then you've got nicotine. And when you look at a liquid cartridge, that liquid cartridge is going to have as much nicotine as 20 cigarettes, which is a pack. And nicotine can cause significant damage to the brain as it's being developed in a child.
That was Chelsea Sick reporting, but today we're talking really the big story is the heat out there. I mean, it is hot, almost takes your breath away.
Yeah, hot, a little humid to go along with that. It is not necessarily a nice day at all. Tomorrow, same trend, not going to be the most pleasant of weather, but we do have some relief eventually on the way, and also some storms in the forecast too. Until then, high pressure to our southeast, keeping southerly winds for our area, so a little hot, a little humid. We have a frontal boundary off to our north. That's going to be making its way in tomorrow, increasing our rain and thunderstorm chances. So overnight, a complex of storms does look like it'll be falling apart, weakening as it makes its way through, but it could bring some lingering cloud cover, a lingering outflow boundary, which would cool things off a bit, maybe bring some clouds into the area. But there are signs of more storms developing tomorrow afternoon and evening. This is between about 5 to 8 p.m. Scattered rain and storms moving through, potentially a strong to severe storm possible, so we'll monitor for that. But the good news with that is it would bring us some needed rain as well as a little relief from the heat. Perhaps some showers lingering Tuesday or Wednesday night into our Thursday before we clear out a bit for our Thursday. There's a look at our risk tonight. Mainly our northern counties have a level 1 risk, and then tomorrow we do have our northeastern corner of our area under a level 2 risk for severe storms with damaging winds is the main concern.
The Biden-Harris administration announcing more than $20 million in grants today to continue building EV charging infrastructure. Now, more than $4 million of that is coming here to Southeast Ohio. The Southeast Ohio Public Energy Council will use the funding to install 8 EV charging stations here on I-75 in Dayton, plus Route 33 in Athens and Logan counties.
Five Rivers Metro Parks announcing universal changing tables have been installed at 2 local venues. Carriage Hill Metro Park and 2nd Street Market now have the height adjustable tables to make the facilities and their restrooms accessible to those with mobility challenges. That money will be coming from a grant plus funding from the Montgomery County American Rescue Plan Act. And the CEO of the Montgomery County Board of Developmental Disability Services says that these tables, quote, provide a hygienic and dignified space for people with disabilities to address their restroom needs. Changing tables can hold up to 400 pounds and be raised or lowered electronically, making it easier for the caregiver to get the individual into a safe position. And a story from our partners at the Dayton Business Journal. A new comedy club getting ready to open its doors here in Dayton. It's called the Laugh Zone House of Comedy on Siebenthaler Avenue. It's going to be hosting a soft opening this weekend. Now, the new comedy club says it'll provide a platform for local comedians to showcase their talent through stand-up and improv nights. The Laugh Zone House of Comedy is expected to open to the public in the next few months. We have all the details right now at Dayton247now.com. You can find this story and others like it under the Dayton Business Journal heading in that news tab.
Well, welcome into the Bob's Discount Furniture Sports Desk. The Cincinnati Bengals roster now set for the season. The team made several moves today to trim down to the 53-man limit. They moved defensive end Miles Murphy and punter Brad Robbins to the injury reserve list and corner DJ Ivey on the reserve physically unable to perform list. The Bengals also releasing 18 other players, including terminating 2 vested veteran contracts.
And over to Columbus college football now. Dave Holmes gives us a look at how the Buckeyes are getting ready for the season.
Well, hello there from the Woody Hayes Center. We got a chance to hear from Ryan Day today. Clearly, he's very excited to get back on a field because remember, his Buckeye team is riding a 2-game losing streak. Of course, the loss to Michigan, but also that ugly Cotton Bowl defeat at the hands of Missouri. So he's excited, but you know who else is excited is starting quarterback Will Howard. We did get to talk to Will. He said, I can tell I'm not in Kansas anymore, the Kansas State transfer. Talked about the first moment he came out in the spring game in front of 80,000 people. He looked around and he said this place is different. It certainly is. He feels confident, though, this weekend. Just needs to be smart, not turn the ball over. The Buckeyes are 50-point favorites, so we expect a comfortable victory in the opener against the Akron Zips. At the Woody Hayes Center with the Buckeyes, I'm Dave Holmes.
Let's give you another live look from our Eco Plumber Sky Cam right now over downtown Dayton. Beautiful look outside, but boy, it is a sweat fest as you walk out there.
It is a hot one. Summer is definitely still here. Just a reminder, we have temperatures in the 90s across the area. This is our feels like temperatures and our forecast feels like temperatures. So factoring in the humidity, tomorrow perhaps feeling even hotter. Remember, we still have a heat advisory in effect for our region through 8 p.m. tomorrow. Tomorrow afternoon, potentially feeling like 100+ degrees. So it's going to be another hot one. As I mentioned before, some storms could help cool us off. Feeling a little better on Thursday, still hot on Friday. It's not until next week we do start to see some relief on the way. So we got 90s these next several days, but check out next week, next Monday and Tuesday. High temperatures back in the upper 70s.
Hard to believe, but Labor Day is next week, so we're gathering all the best Labor Day weekend plans for you and your family and all the fun you can have.
You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
Get an 11% rebate on everything for your next.
The Dayton 24/7 Now News app, brought to you by the Jeff Schmidt Auto Group.
Well, it's only Tuesday, but we're already looking ahead to Labor Day weekend, so you and your family can plan ahead. Today's Joshi has a look at some of the fun happening around the Miami Valley.
The holiday weekend is almost here, and there are a lot of ways to celebrate in the Miami Valley, my friends. Here's a look at some of the events that are on tap for the weekend. The first big one we have to tell you about is Kettering's Holiday at Home. Festivities go on all weekend long, but the main thing you need to know about is Monday morning there is a 5K run/walk, and the main parade is just after that. This is a great event for kids. There's a kids zone open both Sunday and Monday. Another event we need to tell you about is the Tour de Gem presented by the United Way of Greater Dayton. It's a great event that's all about cycling and raising money for nonprofits, including the United Way of Greater Dayton. Adult registration is $50, and it's a fun event that also ties in a lot with the Dayton Dragons. Other event we got to tell you about is the Ohio Ren Fest. They are going to be going on for several weeks throughout the fall, but this is their kickoff weekend. Tickets are $32 for adults for this weekend. There's going to be a lot of themed weekends throughout the entirety of the fall, and it'll transport you back in time. You can go to renfest.com for more details. And the last event we got to give you details on is a Labor Day weekend air show at Red Stewart Airfield in the Waynesville area. It's going to be a free event, and Saturday has an air show starting at 5 o'clock, and there'll be a free pancake breakfast and fly-in on Sunday. Of course, my friends, that's just a look at some of the many events coming to town. Back to you.
Well, this weekend we'll be feeling just a little bit better. We'll be out of the 90s, which, by the way, we have reached 17 90-degree days thus far. Average per year, 14.2. And I will say, last year, we weren't really close to that number, but it's definitely been a hot one, and tomorrow we will likely get to 18. At least that's our forecast high, 93. Some storms possible by the second half of the day, and then we'll continue into those 90s. So there we have 18, 19, 20 90-degree days expected by the end of this week for the year, and then it cools off.